Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on navigating compliance in the cloud. My name is Paul Truland, Director of Sales and Marketing at Baystate IT. Today, we have an exciting session lined up for you, featuring your insights from our esteemed speakers, Abhay Kini, Practice Leader in Life Sciences at Egnyte, and Kat Hall, Head of GXP Quality Assurance at Egnyte. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. Let's get started.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here today. We're going to talk a little bit about the life science climate, how Baystate as well as Egnyte have created environments and solutions to help customers navigate the dynamic nature of the biotech environment today, and share two customer stories in how customers have been able to take advantage of our platform as well as Baystate's service to achieve some of the outcomes that all of us are looking to achieve. So in today's, I would say, in the past decade, the landscape for biotechnology has evolved very rapidly. Biotechs have now, as a consequence, faced unprecedented challenges as well as opportunities. The first one is around the growing volume of data in biotech is staggering. From high throughput screening to next-gen sequencing, customers are dealing with petabytes of complex biological data on a daily basis. This deluge of data is further complicated by the increasing distributed nature of biotech R&D. Biotech themselves, as well as their partners, span the globe, collaborating across continents and, as a consequence, time zones as well. Clinical trials are more decentralized, and as such, cloud-based platforms have become the new norm for data management, collaboration, and regulatory compliance as well. So what we plan to do today is understand how, in this distributed model, how are our customers navigating the compliance hurdles? Questions that our customers are asking is, how can they ensure data integrity when information is flowing from multiple sources at the same time? How can they maintain regulatory compliance across diverse jurisdictions? And crucially, how can they leverage modern technology platforms to enhance productivity without compromising on quality and compliance? So the hurdles that customers face do not in any way make it easier for them or to manage and deliver against their objectives. Our customers are very focused on accelerating the time to patient for the therapies that they are actively working on. At the same time, they do want to achieve operational excellence and not compromise on any of the compliance or integrity challenges that they face. Paul, in light of the challenges that our customers face, what has Baystate offered our customers in order to navigate this environment?
You know, it's an interesting question. And if you look at the slides here on the screen, we've always done the on-site IT support, remote support, procurement, but it's those other buckets that we've really had to step our game up and enhance our offerings around cloud management, AI, and especially cybersecurity. Data availability is super important, and data protection is even more so, right? We want to make sure that your data is highly available and highly secure at all times. So you can see the services that we provide to make that happen for our clients.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to shift gears and maybe ask Kat a question. Kat, knowing the challenges that customers have been facing, as well as the advent of AI and the importance of governance, can you share your perspective on what Egnyte's vision is and why we have this set up for the biotech innovators?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's a lot of focus now on AI from the heightened awareness of and developments of generative AI, with the release of ChatGPT 4.0 and the follow-ons. So, it's important from my perspective to just make sure that everyone understands that artificial intelligence is a wide diversity of methodologies, including machine learning, um, voice recognition, natural language processing. But, the changes and the innovation that now bring artificial intelligence more easily acceptable into everyone's life and in ways that fundamentally change how we do business, right? It's hard to think back in a day where there wasn't email or text messages to interact with colleagues around the world so easily. But those inventions fundamentally changed business, and generative AI is challenging everyone to start thinking differently as well. What's really important to be novel product in what you do, and how can it help you accelerate your productivity and efficiency? So one of the great things about Egnyte is that it has been applying artificial intelligence methodologies to the platform for, almost as long as we've been around. And so generative AI is just one more. And so, the focus on enabling users of the system to be more productive and efficient in their business processes, the naturally generative AI as an add-on is a perfect fit. And, also helping our customers, apply their different AI policies, which I think most businesses are now adopting to the platform so that they can regulate how it's being used or how it's not being used. So, but the ultimate process is right where you were talking early on, is like, what makes sense for our business? What are our processes? What are our people? And how do we accelerate things? And certainly the application of generative AI and other methodologies are going to help us get there.
Thank you. I mean, I really like and admire the fact that Egnyte has, for the past decade almost, been consistently focused on different levels of AI, starting from machine learning, automation, expanding it into data governance, as well as security. And now with generative AI on the forefront, I see it as being a true scalable foundation for our biotech customers so they can focus on their scientific innovation and take advantage of the technological innovations that companies like Egnyte are bringing to the forefront. So with that, I'll just highlight a little bit, Kat, and maybe you could talk a little bit next about some of the specific use cases that we support customers in this relatively dynamic world of biotech, especially from compliance perspective. The way I see it, or at least the way we see it within Egnyte's life science team, is that Egnyte for Life Sciences consistently focuses on creating value for our customers in three very specific ways. We aim to reduce your total cost of ownership, which means it is very simple to learn, simple to administer, simple to upgrade, and it is a big part of the philosophy and how Egnyte develops capabilities, both on the underpinnings of the platform as well as the user interface perspective. We hope and have worked consistently with customers to better understand the use cases, which is your use cases, so we can have better workflows, better business processes out of the box, so you can really truly excel on your operational level and not be bothered by anything on the technology side. And as Kat was mentioning, we have taken governance, compliance, and security and embedded it into the platform in a way that allows you to operate without having to worry about any of them on a regular basis. And each of these, I would say, focal points, each of all three of them, in many ways, begin to come to life in some of the key use cases that we see our customers adopting Egnyte into. Kat, from your perspective, can you talk a little bit about which of these solutions, or all of them, actually help customers from being in the cloud, and what flavor of compliance a few of them actually help customers navigate, especially on the control documents, maybe SCE or ETMF?
Yeah, certainly. And I think, it really does start with the two pieces of bread that I like to think of them on either side is pure collaboration. I mean, I've been in this industry for over 20 years, and I would say when I get down to the root cause of any problem, it's because the right people didn't have access to the right information that they needed. And it all comes down to how do you better share and collaborate across your ecosystem because nobody can do it alone. Sponsor companies need CROs, CROs need other suppliers. Everyone needs, technological support. How do you keep everyone on the same page with what's current in information? So I think just the pure ability to be able to seamlessly share and make sure everybody has a single source of truth is really important. But then on the other side, in terms of governance, the regulators and the industry have come together to revise the ICH E6 Good Clinical Practices again for the third time. And in the release that we expect to be approved next year, there's an entirely new section in the good practice about data governance and the need for sponsors and investigators to have good data governance in place. And I can tell you in my experience in talking to those in the industry, there are a lot of people who do not know what that means and how much effort it will take if they don't have a methodology for identifying what their data is and where it's at risk. And it's one of my favorite parts of the Egnyte platform is that secure and govern makes data governance out of the box easy to implement. But to your earlier point, and controlled documents, that single source of truth I was talking about, how when you are collaborating with people and you're going through all of these versions, do you identify the one that was approved and is effective, whether that's an SOP or protocol or an investigator's brochure? How do you identify your documents that are the ones that everyone should be looking at and being able to separate those approved copies from the collaborative area? And so controlled documents is great for that. It's often equated to EQMS systems because it does typically manage SOPs. But in the medical writing world, it's also equally effective in order to keep track of what version of the protocol is effective in the UK versus the US. What is the difference between those two documents so that when I have to edit them again, I know what I have to tweak in one and not in the other. So certain things like that really help to make processes efficient.
Excellent. I think the compliance part has never really been, I would say, been removed from the industry. It's just how customers can now adopt it into a modern set of technologies. Paul, if you don't mind, maybe I'll ask you a question along the same lines. You and of course the rest of Bay State has been very focused in sort of connecting and serving the emerging biotech area companies. How do you see the adoption of cloud in the life sciences industry? If that has evolved in the past few years, and if you can add your perspective and maybe an example if you'd like.
Sure thing. So what I would say is it's rapid. These companies seem to be going through their life cycle from startup through to clinical much faster than they used to, which makes adopting a solution that's in the cloud and that's scalable, quick to deploy, even that much more important. I can think of one client, for example, who was doing their diligence looking for something to manage their electronic trial master file. They needed something that was cost effective, compliant, quick to deploy, easy to use. They did some work on their side, came to us for help. They ended up settling on Egnyte for life sciences, and it was a perfect solution for them. It was a nice balance of efficiency, scalability, compliance. It allowed them to streamline their document management processes, and all while meeting 21 CFR Part 11 compliance and within budget, which obviously is important to these companies as well. So, and for us, what it meant for Bay State IT and for any managed services provider is having to become an expert in the technologies that your clients are using. And that's what we've done here.
Thank you. I think that's really important. So, the TM, most of these use cases have now been ported to the cloud. They the underpinnings, of course, are collaboration. And I think those who may not have experienced it need to recognize that they are not sacrificing any level of compliance or security if it's set up properly with the right partner and right bit of technology, which is why I think the partnership between someone like Baystate and Egnyte and customers that we serve together really makes sense. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit, Kat, and talk to you a little bit about in the world of AI and content, how does Egnyte actually fit into the broader picture, if you don't mind?
Yeah, well, I think it makes natural sense when, customers come to us and they're looking for a platform to consolidate information into one place with, bring in all those different sources into one collaborative area, that it's a natural evolution to understand where can we apply artificial intelligence layers on top of that to better understand where we are at risk for exposure of personal information. Where are we at risk for a user that just suddenly downloaded 200 documents and we know that they haven't been too happy, so maybe they're thinking about leaving. So those ability to monitor your data and alert you to where there is potential risk. And, sometimes that's a normal course of business. Yeah, they're getting ready for the inspection. They had to download it all to the audit room. And just to be able to quickly say, and prove to a regulator that you have control of your data, that you understand what's going on, and having all of those audit trails that are easily produced and presented to inspectors and auditors is really great. But also, where can it help you? Because, you talked about the world of data is so expanding, right? The volume and the variety of data that we have. Now that if you have one source of truth, but how do I make sense of it? I have 50 documents that are all about neuroblastomas. I just want to know if there's recently been a clinical trial in pediatric population. Being able to bring that into a centralized library and to interrogate that data and say, here's a list of 20 articles. Tell me, do any of them have pediatric patients between the ages of 12 and 15? Really simple, easy things to do that just help you in your day-to-day life.
I think the world of content combined with a platform like Egnyte, which has generative AI and governance built in, is just waiting to really take customers' productivity and efficiency to new levels. Truly excited. And what I want to highlight is, today we have over 600 life science customers in Egnyte. Many of them everyday names, very well known in the biotech industry, pioneers such as Nimbus Therapeutics, investment companies such as Third Rock Ventures, BioNTech, Revolution Medicine. Each of them have taken Egnyte and found ways to adopt it to their entire organization. And there are very, very clear use cases and value propositions without which most of these customers would not have adopted any bit of technology in reality. And what I will take the time to say is, before Kat came to Egnyte, she was a customer of Egnyte at Endpoint Clinical. And she had a very clever solution that she embedded Egnyte in, which we clearly did not anticipate. And I know that a lot of our customers are doing that. And the use cases we have today and the level of understanding has been a really great journey for us, because it's been an education journey, because we've been talking to customers, engaging with them, and trying really hard to understand their needs today as well as tomorrow. So with that said, Paul, if you don't mind, I know you have a case study that you would like to walk us through. Do you mind taking the time to kind of helping us walk this through? I know the customer story is probably a lot more detailed, but maybe a short version of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I alluded to this in the last question, but essentially what they were looking at were what's the best solution for a clinical trial management platform overall, specifically focusing on the e-trial master file. They were looking at, really expensive products in the industry that are kind of known to the industry, but, not inexpensive. They were considering trying to build something homegrown and validate it themselves. We quickly talked them out of that avenue. I've been through that before, and it takes a very long time, and in a lot of cases ends up being more expensive than buying something. So we talked to them about Egnyte. We had talked to you guys at the beginning when in the early stages of Egnyte for life sciences. They looked at it, and they were an Egnyte client anyway. So the transition there was really easy for them. The platform was easy for them to understand, easy for them to deploy. And so at the end of the day, they got everything they needed. They were ready to get up and running as quickly as they needed to. And again, I can't say this enough, but within their budget, which is very important to a lot of these companies, that rapidity where they're going from startup to clinic really quickly sometimes means that they have to be really tight with their purse strings because they haven't had as much time to go out and raise more funds. So it was the perfect solution. It thread the needle with all the things that they needed to meet.
Well, that's really good to hear. We see customers having a lot of challenges. Is there, besides this particular case study, Paul, what do you see as maybe one or two key challenges or resistance areas that customers feel or bank on as if they're asked to migrate to a new technology? Is there any hesitancy with respect to security, compliance, or change management, or anything that you can share on that topic?
Yeah, I think security is a big one. Being able to prove that your data is secure. You're not subject to, say, hackers or ransomware attacks or things like that, losing your data, because for our clients, their data is their product, so to speak. We're not
Yep.
in an industry where they're producing a thing. It's the information they keep that's the most important thing to them. It's their lifeblood. So that's very important. And then, as Kat alluded to, that data governance, knowing that you know what type of data you have, where it is, what's the the approved version, the current accurate version. You don't have duplicate data all over the environment. So being able to do all those things quickly in one place and secure and govern is definitely a huge, huge selling point.
Thank you. Kat, from your perspective, besides the challenges, is there anything that you can provide as guidance, maybe like a single point? Because I know we do this with a lot of customers on a regular basis as part of the selection journey. Is we help them define a migration path, we help them define a deployment plan. What do you think customers should not be concerned about and question themselves internally so they can actually get on this journey of adopting a modern platform?
Yeah, I think fundamentally it comes down to understanding your risk. What kind of data you have, where is it at risk? And, we see a lot of customers, especially in these startups, right? They're going to start off in what's available to them on their computers. And, a lot of are adopting Microsoft, and SharePoint is a common one, right? But at some point they understand that there's a risk about the compliance and whether or not it's going to meet Part 11 or Annex 11 requirements. So, with our platform, all of that is completely mapped and continuously validated for our customers. So even through our entire control process, you get the benefits of having agile development and innovation in our platform with a continuous validation of those efforts, so that you're never wondering whether or not your system is in a validated state.
Great. With that, I'm going to actually, move to our next case study and talk to you a little bit about that one. This is something that came online not too long ago with Foghorn Therapeutics. And Foghorn had a lot of, they have a pretty good pipeline. And they had always, as Paul was talking about, data is very critical, and it's intellectual property and very integrally tied to financial information in the company as well. And as they were evolving, they really wanted a single clinical data repository, which was simple yet secure, and of course, from a business compliance perspective, ready to go. And all that you just highlighted just now, about risk, they really began to think about Egnyte as a clinical data repository, and with full visibility and managing their risk around security, ransomware, as well as tagging information appropriately. And they utilize a lot of governance policies to protect this data. So, if you don't mind, Kat, this was a really good success story for Foghorn. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit about what does it mean to create a policy in Egnyte, and how can that be truly helpful in the background, and what customization might even mean for customers?
Yeah, so I think, one common one that a lot of people deal with is the global data protection regulation in the EU, GDPR, which basically one, regional area said, "Hey, world, we want you to all protect our data from wherever you are." And, a lot of startup companies have no idea what GDPR is versus how they're supposed to control for it. So within Egnyte, you get a whole series of global policies that are already determined against the regulations of what it applies to. And you can just literally click a button and say, apply GDPR, tell me if I'm at risk for this data and its activity. And it's just that simple. We have HIPAA compliance, anything PII, PHI from an HR perspective. In addition, all of these, even if you like, hey, I'm going to start going to clinical trials in Saudi Arabia. I don't know what Saudi Arabia's privacy policies are. We probably have it already in there, and you don't have to think about keeping up with those regulations. We do it for you.
Yeah, and I think that was a lot of what the Foghorn team thought about us as well, is that a lot of it was out of the box, but we spent some time understanding the flow of data, understanding what policies they wanted to adopt out of the box, as well as fine-tune some of them as needed. And that really helped them achieve their goal in a much quicker and simpler manner compared to some of the other vendors out there. And we really appreciate customer feedback like this, because it motivates as well as allows us to share things that might really matter. The final question for you, Kat, a little bit is, maybe customers get overwhelmed about where do we start? And this is something that we've talked about internally, and we talk about customers at the deployment level. How difficult is it to start versus achieve the ultimate goal? What is a foundational way that every biotech customer can begin with quickly and then grow with Egnyte over time?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk a lot in Egnyte about our crawl, walk, run, and I like to add fly to the progression. You're a startup and you're really just getting started, and you can't go out and find 100 systems. You need something that is, scalable and flexible as your organization needs evolve. Fundamentally, what we typically see our customers, their first need is to get data into a secure GXP compliant platform. I need to store data. I need to share data. Where can I put that and know that it's in a good validated GXP compliant system? So that's usually our foundational type of use cases. Then as they grow, they're like, hey, I got to write SOPs. You got something for that? I need to start managing protocol versions and investigator brochures, and maybe even electronic batch records. And then you're continually involved in like, hey, I want to take control of my own eTMF. So the great thing about the platform is you can continue to add on to it and get that, flexibility in what it does and how it supports your business. And it is widely integratable with other systems. So maybe you say, hey, this was really great to get me off the ground. But now I am being audited every other month, and I really need a project management tool that's going to sit on top of those audits. So I'm going to move somewhere else for that part of it, but still I want all my data to sit here. So, as that complexity grows in your digital ecosystem, the platform grows with you.
I love it. And I think that is very representative of some of the case studies I'm just splashing here right now. I won't go into more details, but it really kind of mirrors what Kat was talking about. You can start at more than one place. And as you grow as a business, as a organization, you can adopt multiple use cases and modules depending on your need. So we have customers who begin with collaboration, and there's multiple layers of collaboration. You could support your biostats team both internally, externally, and without compromising on the critical audit trails and version controls that you need in there. And of course, manage your clinical content as well. I know we're a little over time, but really appreciate everyone's feedback and time today. And Paul, I'll hand it over to you to wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you. And if you would like to learn more about what you heard today or talk to us about what you could do with your journey to the cloud as a company, please reach out to us, or you can find us at baystateIT.com, or you can get directly to me and my team at sales@baystateIT.com. So thank you, as Abhay said, for your time and attendance today. Thank you, Abhay and Kat, for speaking. It was very informative content. And hopefully everybody have a great rest of your day and great holiday season.
Thank you.
Thank you.